Looking ahead, challenges and opportunities in the changing world. Welcome to Talking Economics, podcast launched on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the Center for Economic Research and Graduate Education, Economics Institute. My name is Katarína Stehlíková, and with my guests today, we will focus on retail banking. How have banks survived the pandemics? And what are the trends in banking industry? Let me welcome Richard Podpiera, our Ph.D. in economics alumnus and an executive director at ČSOB, one of the largest banks in the Czech Republic, where he manages retail group segments. Richard is also a lecturer of the Masters in Applied Economics program course Corporate Finance and Valuation here at CERGE-EI. Prior to his current engagement, he has also worked for McKinsey & Company and for the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C. Good afternoon, Richard.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation. I should say that anything that I will say is my personal opinion, and not the view of any of my current or previous employers.
The standard disclaimer.
Yeah.
So with the disclaimer, we can start. Looking at the financial results and the share prices of Czech and also European banks, it seems that they survived the pandemic very well. Is it correct?
Yes, I think so. Czech banks have proven quite resilient. You could say another crisis, another strong performance of Czech banks, like in the previous one after 2008. So it looks very well these days, but I should say it was no picnic because we were shocked as any other industry by COVID. You could even say more because banks are leveraged place on the economy. So when the economy gets a hit, the banks are hit even more. So we had to solve not only the operational issues with people not being able to come to work, but also immediately we started to worry about credit quality because we saw that the economy will go down, there will be a recession, and many of our debtors could be hit. So we started to worry about that. And also the Czech National Bank cut interest rates almost to zero, and that is hitting a lot our revenues. So from both sides we were hit. And also the outlook was quite gloomy, I would say, because as an open economy, Czech Republic is really dependent on foreign demand, and COVID actually hit all the countries pretty much at the same time. So we worried a lot about the foreign demand for our goods and services. So it was really quite difficult start of COVID for us.
But the worst hasn't happened, right?
Yes, that's correct. We feared much worse. You can see it in the financial results as well, because we created significant provisions for bad debts, which fortunately we were not forced to use up to now. So that was the actual performance was much better. Of course, it is thanks to not only the Czech government, which did spend a substantial amount of money in terms of helping the economy, the Czech National Bank, which supported also with loose monetary policy, but also the foreign demand didn't drop as we feared so much. And also with the vaccine later on, I think the overall performance was much better than we thought in, March, April 2020. That was kind of the worst fears, which, by the way, you can see also in the development of the stock market. Those were the initial lows of the stock market.
About your clients, did you then actually needed to help them, or do you need to help them? And did you try to help them in any way?
Definitely. So in the first shock, we really tried to help the clients to still keep access to financial services. Even the old way, meaning having branches and the post offices open, because we also serve clients through the postal saving bank. So we really try to keep as many open as possible. But of course, the big move toward digital interactions with clients was there from the very first day. Because kind of digitization of banking services has been here for a while. COVID only accelerated this trend. So we immediately started to promote also to older clients and more conservative clients that they really should go online, they should pay by card, they should have their pension sent to an account and so on. And so I think it was bigger change for the clients than for us. We were ready, and many clients already interacted remotely with us. But we really tried to help the clients in the daily business. And also we had to communicate quite a lot with the clients because they were scared at the beginning, and we were confused, to be honest, because from one day to another everything was closed, so clients didn't know what to do, and they did want to have access to their money. So that was one part of the response. Then, if you remember, many people don't even remember now, but there was a lot of discussion and then actions on the moratoria on loan repayments. Already in March, actually, the banking industry, through the Czech Banking Association, we started basically providing first relief, basically allowing clients to delay their payments. But then the government stepped in and set quite clear rules. So clients could have basically postponed their payments between, I believe, April and October 2020. And many of them actually used this opportunity. Industry-wide, I think more than 300,000 applications were approved. And 400 to 500 billion of Czech crowns were kind of delayed.
And what kind of share is this, do you know?
This was about, I think, 14%. 14% of all bank loans were actually put under moratoria. After this expired, pretty much everybody started to pay back. In retail, maybe 2%, 2 to 3% had some issues in starting back to pay back. So it was. You could almost say it was not necessary because not so many people got into trouble. But I think it was the right way to do, the right thing to do, because there was a lot of uncertainty, and it certainly helped many people to know that they don't have to pay for 3 or 6 months, depending on what they chose, because the uncertainty about their income was huge. So that was the second one, and the third area where we try to help our clients a lot was in investment management, because we at least, but I saw it also in other banks, not only in our bank. We try to advise clients not to sell in panic when the markets went down, because that's the worst thing you can do, sell low. And later on, when interest rates decreased to almost zero, we advised them to actually move out of short-term bond funds, where they had the perspective of earning nothing, and rather we advised them to invest into mixed funds. And actually, more than half of the clients that we advised in this way actually did that and earned very nice return since then. So I'm quite happy we did that. Not everybody followed our advice, but at least some people, and actually most people we advised did so.
That's impressive that you managed to do so even with the remote work, actually. And I wanted to ask about the first point you raised, and that was the move to online. I suppose now you see more online than you've ever seen before. The first question is, how did you actually manage to help the people to move online? Because it seems, it's a challenge for them. It's very difficult, something they feared for a long time. And now they need to change, probably without a person, right? They need to do it remotely as well. So do you have the resources to do it?
Well, yes, it was a challenge for many people. I should say that we did keep the branches and post offices open. So we managed, for most of the time, they were open. So people who really needed the help, we were available. But we also actually increased quite a lot the traffic at our call center. So we tried to help them remotely. We even suspended for some time our security measures, because normally some transactions cannot be done through the phone, but we allowed for some clients where we saw the risk was low that we can do that. And we also ran campaigns where we see that there are some connections between our young clients and old clients. So we try to actually run campaigns or ask the young clients to help the older ones to actually get online. And it was quite successful. I was surprised that we were actually able to identify these connections, and people actually helped quite a lot.
Yeah, that sounds impressive. But you're able to identify these, and that it's similar to the voting campaign, right?
Yeah. Yes, but of course we are not in politics, but at all. But actually, it's not. When you have the transaction data, it's not so difficult. Of course, we use it only for clients who gave us consent.
With this technology, I guess the pandemic has only speed up the introduction of technology, right? And one thing is the banking online. The other things are exactly what you already mentioned, data analytics. Now you actually probably have even more data. So are you working in this? Are you working in this area as well?
Yes. I think actually this is one of the major trends we still are going to see here for the next, at least, 3-5 years, maybe longer. Because for the banks to remain relevant for clients, we really need to understand better what they need, and give them not only the sale offers, which of course we need also because we want to serve them, but also kind of service tips and really help the clients, because otherwise we will not be credible. And we can do that only through data analytics and even more sophisticated models that actually are used to analyze the data. We have a lot of data. We don't. I don't think we, or as an industry, use the data to the full extent. Actually, I think we use 10, 20, maybe 30% of the potential, probably 20%. So there's huge potential, and definitely we need to go in that direction.
And are you working on this as a bank, as a ČSOB, or are you cooperating actually with the mother and sisters in these huge projects, I suppose?
Yes, definitely. We cooperate group-wide with KBC because it's there is a lot that can be copied from at least in terms of the approach and the models. The data is always local, at least as long as you have different transaction systems and different databases and so on. So on that will take a long time, I think, to at least in our group to make similar. But the approach and the modeling that is shared group-wide.
And is it done mainly in-house, or are you? What about the technological innovators? Fintech is a huge industry, right? With possibly a lot of competition for you. So do you see this as a competition?
Yes, sure. Fintechs are competition. But coming back to your question, do you do it? Whether we do it ourselves? Yes, we invest into our in-house capability. That's the strategy of KBC and then CSOB to actually have this knowledge and capabilities in-house, because we believe this is really strategic going forward. Of course, we cooperate with some fintechs, but most of them are, of course, competition. With COVID, I think at least some of them were a little bit less successful because people wanted the, let's say, the certainty and the security of a large institution. But in the next years, I'm quite sure this will come back. But I think we should be able to compete successfully.
And with all this technology changing the way you operate and people moving to digital, what does it mean for your organizational structure and for the branches and the post offices?
Yes, there is, of course, big change going on. We see that we need less people in the branches and gradually less branches. I should say that CSOB doesn't have too many branches compared to the other banks. So we actually optimized early on. So I don't think we will need to cut too many branches, but definitely the work that people are doing there will change. So from kind of simple operations and simple product sales, they will need to move to more complex areas like investments, mortgages. So there will be a little bit less people, but more specialized and really specialized on these things where you, as a client, you want to have advice, you want to discuss perhaps if it's your first mortgage, you do it, I don't know, once, twice, 3 times in your lifetime. So it's better to have somebody who knows how things work. Also with investments, it's not that the technology you can buy investments online today. That's no problem. But to get the trust that you should do it, it requires some conversation. But even these gradually will use much more technology because we are looking at, of course, video calls with bankers so that you don't need to travel to the branch or they don't need to travel to your home. So technology will help with these tasks as well, but we will need people for these higher value added services.
So a different type of people will be needed for these jobs. Possibly a challenge.
Yes,
could be. Going back to the challenges and opportunities of this changing world. Do you think that the pandemic, or has the pandemic revealed any structural issues in the Czech financial system?
I think not really, not any major systemic issues. There are some interesting points, I would say, that were revealed by the pandemic. One could be the mortgage market, where when the Czech National Bank decreased the rates in 2020 and combined with the Czech National Bank interpretation of what banks can charge to clients when they repay early, simply led to a large wave of early repayments. So basically clients came to the bank and said, well, I would like to have my mortgage repaid because I will get another one at better price at some other bank. And this issue was known, but the pandemic has actually revealed how big it is. And it has led to big losses in terms of income at the banks, because the banks, for your 5-year mortgage, they fix the rate at which they finance themselves. Like today, 5-year swap rate would be like 3%. So they fix it for and they commit to pay this 3% for the next 5 years. If you come back in 1 year and say, sorry, this is money, this is just take your money back, I will get a better rate, and the market rate is 2%, the bank is actually losing for the remainder of the mortgage the difference from 3 to 2. So 1% on the whole mortgage is lost. So it's a loss for the bank. And there is a lot of discussion still in the banking sector that this is not fair. Either way, either this is corrected or it will need to be counted into the price of mortgages, and this could be an issue longer term. But simply, the COVID, this very sudden drop in interest rates, revealed that there is really a significant issue. And maybe one more point, still Czech investors are quite conservative. We were also advising clients who did not invest and have kind of aggressive investment profile to invest when the market went down. Some of them did, but many of them did not. And if you look at the portfolios of Czech investors, they are still quite underweighted in equities. If you really look long term, it's rational to invest more in equities. This could be an issue also for the pension reform, because simply people need to save and invest so that in 20, 30, 40 years they have better pensions. And this is still something where we as Czech investors, including myself, are underweighted. So this is also a structural issue that I think was quite apparent in the pandemic.
And do you see any signs of this changing, or do you have any suggestions of how to actually approach this? Because I think Czechs or Slovaks are rather conservative and afraid probably of these.
I think it's there are a number of obstacles that actually need to be tackled. Certainly, the being afraid is one thing, but we need to explain to investors that they should look at the investment horizon that they set. So if they say, okay, I invest for at least for 6-7 years, then they should not sell their investments after 1 year when there's a small loss. That's why we also test the risk acceptance of investors. So working with that, that's one area, but also trying to simply get people invest even small amounts, which we try in CSOB. With this, we have ČSOB drobné as a product where you basically your payments by card are rounded to the next 20 crowns. And the rounding is then invested into one of the mixed funds. So you basically have already some very small investment, but then it should kind of motivate you. And we try to persuade the clients to think about investing more, because many clients actually have a lot of money. We see it on the accounts. Also during the pandemic, a lot of liquidity was parked at the current accounts. And the people, these clients will not need the money for the next few years, probably many of them, and it's a shame to leave it at zero, basically when inflation is between 4 and 5%. So definitely we try to motivate people. Look, you already invest a little bit, you know how it works, you can see the balance, you can invest more. And we see that this is a way how to introduce these investments.
So has the strategy worked?
So far, yes. Yes.
You see people actually using it?
We see people using it. We see also people investing more and investing also lump sum, not only regularly. And I hope we will get soon to 100,000 clients with drobné. So it is not just a few clients trying it. So we are quite happy about it. Of course, the potential is huge. Huge amounts of money in the whole banking sector that can be invested, and probably some of that really should be invested.
That's interesting. With the pandemic, we usually, think and hear about the saving and how we need to be careful because of the uncertainty. And here it's all the money which actually can be invested, which is wonderful news, I would say. So do you see any other trends in the banking industry?
So besides really trying to think about the client and really simplify things for the client so that there are no obstacles in using the financial services, you probably have seen also in the market that many banks now kind of are green or promote sustainability, because that's really another trend in the banking industry overall. It's not only that many banks do not finance coal or producing electricity and so on, and rather would invest into kind of renewable energy. But it's also it's coming to mortgages, where at least in our bank, but also I think in other banks as well, we give kind of lower rate if you if you buy or build a house that is A or B in terms of energy efficiency, and also in actually the investments. We have now introduced this zodpovědně or ESG funds, which invest into really responsible companies, kind of subset of responsible companies, be it in the environment or social or governance. That's the ESG funds. And this is also coming, I think, much more going forward. In other countries, it's quite developed, including Belgium. In the Czech Republic, I think it's also a trend that is coming.
Increase. But this is something that is here regardless of the pandemic, right? It started and pandemic hasn't really affected it in any way, right?
Yes, it's kind of independent trend. Even though with the EU trying to invest out of the recession through the Green Deal and really trying to redo the economy in Europe, it is related to that.
So it's used as an opportunity to strengthen.
It's an opportunity, but also the EU and the ECB is trying to a little bit use the banking sector as a way to find financing for green or sustainable projects, because it could be that long term, like the mortgages for not energy efficient houses would be weighted actually in risk weights much more, which would be more expensive. So the push is also felt in the financial sector.
Good. And the last question. We know that you are also a lecturer in the CERGE-EI's Master in Applied Economics. So you can compare, what would you say was easier, to teach or to run a bank during the pandemic?
To be honest, I think it's easier to run a bank than to teach online. Because to get the interaction with the students at the right level to really teach them something is more difficult than to run the meetings and to make the decisions in the bank. So that was quite a challenge, but I was fortunate that in both semesters during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, at least the end of the semester was in person. So at least I could actually meet the students then. And I hope the next semesters will be face to face.
We all do so. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you very much.